Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. It's Friday, September 4th. I'm Stephanie Haney. I've got your top headlines from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Thank you for choosing to be here to get filled in on everything that's impacting you here in Northeast Ohio. As I join you now around 3 p.m., Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson is discussing the killing of Cleveland Police Detective James Skirnivitz. That happened last night on the west side of Cleveland. We're now learning more information about the things that happened last night. There is a second person who was killed who has been identified, and 3 people have been arrested. The police officer who was killed is Detective James Skirnivitz, and he was a 25-year veteran of the Cleveland Police Department. We've also learned that he was just sworn into the federal task force. That's according to Vicki Anderson of the Cleveland FBI. She tells 3 News that. He had also served as an officer at Progressive Field, according to Curtis Danberg of the Cleveland Baseball Organization. He was shot and killed at around 10 p.m. last night near West 65th Street and Storer Avenue. If you are not familiar with that area, that's in the Stockyards neighborhood near Captain's Grill and Caliber Auto Sales. We now know that a second person was also killed. That person has been identified as 50-year-old Scott Dingus. That's according to the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's Office. We do not know the circumstances surrounding why Dingus was in the area with Officer Skirnivitz, but we do know that Dingus was facing aggravated theft charges and was free on bond when the two met up. Our 3 News investigative reporter Phil Trexler tracked down that information for us. As I said, we do not yet know why the 2 men were together when they died, but we do know that 3 people were arrested this morning and that authorities are still looking for information. If you have any information related to this incident, you're asked to please call the Cleveland Police Department at 216-623-5464. Again, that's 216-623-5464, or you can call 911 with any information. The Cleveland FBI has also set up a tip line. That's a 24/7 line for anyone with information. That number is 216-622-6842. Again, that's 216-622-6842. When news came out about the killing of Detective Skirnivitz, the community shared their celebrations of his life and our sadness over the loss of one of our finest here in Cleveland. Colleen Strong-Keltz said, "May he rest in peace. Thank you for your service to the community for over 25 years. My thoughts and prayers go out to your family, friends, brothers and sisters in uniform, and the community." Trisha Riggs also said, "God bless you and your family. I am so sorry for this tragedy, and thank you for your service to our city." And then Catherine Hobzik said, quite simply, "Thank you for being our hero," saying rest in peace to Officer Skirnivitz. In Chardon, there was a Black Lives Matter rally that was planned for today, but that has been canceled after the killing of Officer Skirnivitz. Julie Manring, who is a Chardon High School alum and a Chardon resident who was organizing the event, told 3 News that they had expected about 50 to 75 people to take part in the demonstration, but that will not be happening tonight after this news, and that everyone who was expected to participate are all against gun violence. Now let's take a look at the latest numbers for COVID-19 in from the Ohio Department of Health. New daily reported cases are down just a bit from yesterday, and new deaths are down by a lot from yesterday. In the last 24 hours, we've seen 1,332 new reported cases of COVID-19. That brings the total number here in Ohio dating back to March 9th to now 128,444. And our 7-day average positivity rate is 4.5%. So over the last 7 days for all the COVID-19 tests that have been done, 4.5% have come back positive. That's on average. That is below the World Health Organization's recommended threshold of 5%. However, our latest daily figure is 5.3%. So the daily figure above the threshold, the 7-day average below that threshold. In the last 24 hours, there have been 22 new COVID-19 deaths reported. That's down from 50 yesterday, which was the largest number of deaths we've seen since June. That brings the total number of COVID-19 deaths in Ohio to now 4,248. We saw 68 new hospitalizations in the last 24 hours, and the total number of people who are hospitalized right now is 727. That's down 15 from yesterday. There are now 266 people in the ICU. That's up from yesterday. That's about 37% of all people who are hospitalized right now are getting treatment in the intensive care unit. And in the last 24 hours, we've seen 19 new admissions to the ICU. Our current statewide hospital bed occupancy rate is 71%. That's down from Thursday as well. So there are 29% of hospital beds available for people who need treatment here in Ohio. Now let's take a look at the U.S. and the global numbers for COVID-19. These come from Johns Hopkins University. In the U.S., there are now a total of 6,173,562 cases of COVID-19 that have been reported, and a total of 187,152 deaths that have been reported. That's just under 1,000 new deaths reported in the last 24 hours here in the U.S. In the U.S., the percentage of the global deaths has dropped just a tiny bit. We've got 4.25% of the global population here, and we have 21% of the global deaths. It's been 22% for quite some time, but that has dropped just a bit to 21% now, and we have 23% of the known global cases. Globally, there have been 26,410,996 COVID-19 cases reported to date, and 870,650,000 COVID-19 deaths reported globally to date. A lot of people are thinking about what will be happening in the future when it comes to COVID-19, and that includes the Tokyo Summer Olympics that were supposed to be held this year, but they were, of course, postponed because of COVID-19. Now they're looking at having them next summer. Well, officials are now saying that a COVID-19 vaccine will not be required in order to hold the Tokyo Olympics and the Paralympics next year. This comes from the CEO of the Tokyo Games, Toshiro Muto. He said that the International Olympic Committee and the World Health Organization have already discussed this, and of course, if vaccines are developed, that would be great, but in order for Tokyo 2020 to take place next year, it's not necessarily a required condition to make that happen. There will be task force meetings over the next few months that will be looking at issues like how to get athletes safely into Japan, COVID-19 testing, and measures to keep the venue safe. So some sort of layout for a plan is expected by the end of the year. It's been called an interim summary plan that they hope to have by the end of the year. So definitely not anything definite, but they are looking at putting a plan together over the next several months. Muto said that when it comes to spectators, they don't know what those conditions will be yet, but they do hope to have some spectators. They are hoping to avoid the situation where there can't be any fans in the stands at the Tokyo Summer Olympics if that happens next year. But in Japan, the public is skeptical about whether it's safe to hold the Olympics and whether they can take place or they should take place. There was a recent poll of almost 13,000 Japanese companies, and in that poll, about 54% want the games either canceled or postponed again. But the IOC has already said postponing again will not happen. If the Tokyo Summer Olympics cannot happen next year, they will just be canceled. And that is straight from the mouth of the IOC. Here in Northeast Ohio, we have a heartwarming story to share for you. There's a bagel shop in University Heights. It's called BIALY'S Bagels, and they made it work out for one of their employees who had a child who was in school. And of course, many schools are doing the virtual learning situation. Well, when they found out that one of their employees was concerned about a safe schooling space for their child, they just figured it out. They created a learning space at the bagel shop so that their employee could work and the child could do virtual schooling, and they wouldn't have to make a difficult choice. The owners of BIALY'S Bagels, their twin sisters Sarah and Rachel Gross, they said it was an easy decision to make. They had a hardworking employee who's been out of work since March and wanting to get back to work, and just basically had a need for a safe place for her daughter to virtually attend kindergarten. And they were not going to let their employee be held back by that. There's obviously been a great response to this online. It was posted online in the Cleveland Eastside Moms Facebook group. We've got it linked on WKYC.com if you want to smile a little bit today and take a look at the comments there and how that company is supporting one of its employees and what everybody has to say about that. Now, here's a reminder for you, because it is Friday, we've got our WKYC High School Game of the Week. The Medina Bees will be taking on the Brunswick Blue Devils tonight. They are conference and county rivals, and both teams are coming off tough week 1 losses, so they will definitely be amped up to battle it out tonight. Our Dave Dino DiNatale will be calling the game, and then our Tyler Carey will pop in with analysis and scoring updates from across the region. 3 News will broadcast the entire game of Medina versus Brunswick live via audio stream on WKYC.com and the WKYC app, also on the 3 News Facebook and YouTube pages. So that'll be starting at about 6:50 p.m. if you want to turn into our high school game of the week. That's it for your 3 News Now afternoon update for Friday, September 4th. I will see you next up on What's New with your trending stories, and then I will actually be out next week, so I will see you back here for 3 News Now on Monday, September 14th, hopefully after a Browns win against the Baltimore Ravens. Fingers crossed that we get to talk about that first thing on Monday morning on September 14th. Everyone enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Have a great week. Have a great Labor Day weekend. I will see you back here after a little while. I'm Stephanie Haney.